My celebrity guest this week is DJ, broadcaster, runner and author, and the proud parent to Audrey, the name she gives to her stoma. I'm delighted to welcome Adele Roberts. Adele, so honoured to have you here today. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Just to let you know, Audrey's been a bit cheeky today.
Is that
she
right?
Might make a bit of noise.
She's not behaving well.
She's very excited by you, I'll be honest.
Well, I'm honoured. Now, you and I have got a lot in common, which we'll talk about in a minute. Dancing on ice.
Yes.
And author. So, yeah, we've done lots of things. But particularly, you know, I looking at your career, is this anything you haven't done? Author, broadcaster. You were the first gay woman to present on BBC's Radio 1 Breakfast Time.
Yeah.
You've done I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
It sounds like I'll do anything, doesn't
It does, yeah, but you're obviously multi-talented. So the thing that I obviously noticed particularly was your diagnosis in 2021 of stage 2 bowel cancer. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people think, bowel cancer, that happens to older people. You were how old when this was diagnosed?
Yeah, I was 42.
So young.
Yeah, and that's what my GP said to me, actually. I was very lucky. She said, we don't think it'll be cancer because you're too young, but I'll give you the test anyway. And thank God she gave me that test. And thank God I did it.
Yeah.
And I think that saved my life.
What kind of symptoms did you have?
Well, you know that you mentioned I'm a Celebrity. I actually was on that show displaying the symptoms and I didn't pick up on it. Nobody at home picked up on it. It started at first really by me losing weight, but because I was running a lot of the time, I thought it was because I was like really active and I'd really got into running. And then it started to be I'd have a bloated tummy. And then eventually, especially on I'm a Celeb as well, I couldn't really digest my food. My stomach would hurt after eating. And then after I'm a Celeb, it was a couple of months later, I started noticing blood when I go to the toilet, when I go for a poo. Yeah. And that became more and more regular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, this isn't normal for me. Right. And so I rang my GP and asked if she could see me.
Yeah. So what you described there is so typical because it's so easy to put something like bloating down to something else. You assume, well, it's a bit of irritable bowel syndrome. It's a temporary thing. And then you're on something like I'm a Celebrity. The diet's very different. You attribute it to that. And then you come home and, you know, it takes time. But you had the sense to eventually go and see your GP, who had the sense to check it out because so many people put it off for too long. So when you finally had the diagnosis, it must have been a shock.
Absolutely. I went into the room thinking I was just going to get test results from a colonoscopy. And at the time, I didn't even know what a colonoscopy was. So that was quite a surprise when I had that. Yeah. I thought they were just going to say it was IBS or something like that. Yeah. And luckily, my girlfriend was in the room with me. And I don't know if the right word is surgeon, the consultant. Yeah, the consultant was amazing. He just sort of like put his hand on my knee and then I felt like he might say something serious and he said, I'm sorry, you've got cancer.
Right.
And
so
that's,
direct.
just really shocked and taken aback. And then I don't really remember much about the rest of that conversation. He mentioned I might have a stoma, but at that time I didn't really care. I was just hoping that they could help me and save me. So it wasn't until a week later that I found out what stage cancer I had. So they had to do more tests. So I just knew that I had cancer.
Absolutely. So you're quite right that moment where someone is as direct as that and tells you straight, you know, half the conversation is gone. You don't remember anything else. So I always say to people, look, you know, if it's an important consultation, ask the consultant if you can record the conversation, then you can play it back, or you can play it back to family members who you want to inform, so that you've got the whole of the consultation. Otherwise, 50% of it is lost. So that's a little tip for people in the future. But then you had to deal with the surgery. And then the grueling chemotherapy afterwards. That was months of hard graft, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I got diagnosed during COVID as well. So when I went into hospital, sadly, my family couldn't be there with me. It was very strange being in an environment where these people that were saving my life, I couldn't see their faces properly. But I was just glad to be there. I was glad that they could help me. I was glad that they could do something. So I had the surgery, and when I woke up, I realised I had a stoma. So when they put me under, they said, you might wake up with a stoma. We're not quite sure how big the tumour is, where it is, you might need one.
And
so
you have to sign the consent form for such. Yes. So you woke up with the bag.
Yes. So I woke up, remembered I might have one, pulled back the covers, and I was like, oh, I've got one. And it was in a little see-through bag, but my tummy was so sore that I couldn't really sit up and see it properly. It wasn't until the next couple of days that I was able to go to the toilet and actually look in a mirror for the first time and see my body.
Did you feel a bit torn between, right, they've probably saved my life, but then I've got to live with this thing that I don't really know much about at this stage?
Yeah, it's a bit overwhelming to me. So I was a bit like, I don't know how to work this. It was like having a naughty baby trapped to my front, and sort of like with it, and I had to change its nappy. That's what it felt like, because stomas, people don't realise, wriggle about, so they don't even sit still. But I also, strangely, because I've always had a bit of a bad relationship with my body, I think it was the first time I actually appreciated my body. And the first time that I saw my stoma, it felt like, I don't know, for some strange reason, I felt complete. I felt like I was me for the first time. I felt like I could actually appreciate this amazing machine that kept me alive. And in a way, the gratitude, having cancer, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but for me, I feel like it's helped me get my life back and really appreciate life.
That's really interesting. And you say that it misbehaved at first. It was like a little baby, and you even gave it a name.
Yeah.
So where does Audrey come from?
Yeah, so it comes from Little Shop of Horrors. So there's a plant in it that's sort of like that.
Right.
And that's what a stoma looks like. But just to let you know, mine doesn't have teeth like the plant. But it's like sort of like a mouth, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, so it reminded me of that.
Well, I suppose we should explain what an ileostomy is. It's basically, it brings the small bowel to the outside, the surface of the abdomen, and then a bag collects the waste.
Yeah.
Now, still, there's a bit of a stigma regarding ostomies, and you want to make these much more visible. You're doing a great job in even talking about it.
Thank you.
And of course, you can live a normal life with these bags, and you kind of feel like it saved your life.
Totally. When I first got told I might have a stoma, it felt like people were like, I'm so sorry, you might have to have a stoma. And because I didn't really know what they were at the time, I didn't understand why it sounded like it might be a bad thing, because I was like, this is going to save my life. I always say as well, I'm not ashamed to have a stoma. I'm ashamed I didn't know what one was. And so that's why I try and show and talk about mine as much as possible, because nobody should be ashamed of them. I think anybody that has one has been through a lot to even get it. They've probably been very ill, and it's something that's helping them get their life back together. And as you say, when I first got mine, I didn't really know how to proceed in life. There wasn't much information on how you sort of like move forward. And so that's why I try and share that as well, to show you can have a full life and there's nothing to be ashamed of and there's nothing to be scared of.
Absolutely. Well, I suppose people don't know much about it because it's not a sexy subject as such. But I went to a wonderful conference with the stoma nurses last year and gave a little talk. And I said that, GPs might carry out a diagnosis or do the investigations, and they might tell a patient that they're going to have a stoma, but it's the stoma nurses that do so much in the practical side of it, teaching you about how they work, how to look after them, how to keep the skin clean. So that must have been your experience as well.
Yeah, my stoma nurse, Elaine, I think she's like the stoma whisperer. She's amazing. And I feel like she was so good at preparing me before the surgery. So when it was like, will I get one, will I not? She was so good introducing me to stomas and doing it bit by bit that by the time she'd finished, I didn't mind if I had one or not. And so I think she really helped me mentally before I even went in there. And then after I got it, she really helped me look after it, and she helped me get physical again and get back moving again. So without her, I don't think I would have this attitude towards my stoma.
And of course, some stomas are reversible. I mean, it may be that whilst the bowel is recovering, you'll be able to reverse it.
Yeah. Mine is reversible, but at the moment I've decided not to have it reversed just yet because when they reverse it, there's a chance I might get LARS. There might be a chance that I can't use my bowels properly or in the same way that I used to. I only got told recently they actually removed most of my rectum. So I think I've only got about an inch of it left. So it might be very different for me going to the toilet if I do have it reversed. So for now, and I can manage it, and I'm quite happy.
And on a day-to-day basis, what are the big challenges having a stoma?
Always needing to go to the toilet. So whenever I go somewhere new, I'm always like, have you got a toilet? Do you mind if I use it? So I think it's, just for me, making sure that I know when I eat and drink, because essentially anything that goes in has to come out, and it usually will end up in my bag. So just always knowing where the nearest toilet is, making sure I've got a spare bag in case I need to change my bag, my stoma bag. And especially when I go running, most people will maybe check their route on Strava to see where they're going to run. Mine's always dotted with toilets. Like, where are the toilets? Are they open? What time is it? What day is it? And that's how I plan my runs now.
Okay, and flying must be a bit of a challenge as well.
Yeah, flying's a lot. So at the moment, I'm doing a challenge where I'm flying around the world doing different major marathons. I know. And every single flight, Audrey's bag blows up like a whoopee cushion.
Like a bag of crisps, isn't it?
Yeah.
Air pressure changes.
Which is quite, when people come and check on you, they're kind of like, what's down there? And it's like, no, it's just my stoma bag. What are you hiding?
But what you're proving is, with these marathons, that there is nothing you can't do.
Yeah.
So you've got a challenge at the moment to run 6 major marathons, haven't you?
Yes.
Which are what? Berlin, New York, London.
You're good at this, yeah. So Berlin, Chicago, New York, Tokyo, Boston, London. And I'm doing that to raise money for Cancer Research UK.
Fantastic. But all in how many months? 8 months?
Oh, yeah. So it'll be within 8 months, wow. 6 marathons in 8 months. Yeah.
And you'll be the first person to do that? Is that right?
I think I'll be the first woman to do it with an ileostomy, and hopefully the fastest woman. We're hoping to set a Guinness World Record. Right.
So you're running 26 and a bit miles.
Yeah.
You've got a stoma.
Yeah.
You're wearing kit. So what about clothing?
So I have special stoma knickers that they now have at M&S.
Okay.
Believe it or not. Yeah, they've done those. But before that, I just wear normal underwear, but I have a stoma belt.
Right.
So there's like sort of like, like Spanx.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know what Spanx are?
I've heard of them. I'm a man of the world.
Is that why you look so trim?
I've got Spanx on, yeah.
So it's like, a bit of sort of like elasticated, like material that goes around my stoma and just keeps it secure so that when I'm running, it's not sort of like sloshing everywhere. And
when you're perspiring, you've got the glue that holds the stoma bag on. Do you get problems there?
Absolutely. So I have special stickers as well that go around the seal of the bag just to make sure that it stays on. I do have accidents though. The bag does come off, but because of my stoma belt, it doesn't really fall off the front of my body. And I always carry a spare bag whenever I'm training as well, just in case that happens.
And like many marathon runners have a special diet the night before or that morning. Do you have to do anything there?
Yeah, most ileostomy people will know that fiber's not our friend. And unfortunately, a lot of marathon food is fibrous. So again, I have to be very careful about how many carbs I eat because essentially they're going to end up in my bag. So I know now how long it takes each food to go through my digestive system, how long it takes before it ends up in the bag. So I really have to time everything, all my porridge and everything, to make sure that it doesn't come out on the course.
These are brilliant practical tips. So if you're running a marathon and you've got stoma, this is the girl. This is the girl with all the practical tips that I didn't know about. Yeah. So, but you're achieving it. So what sort of times are you aiming for?
At the moment, well, my fastest was Berlin, and that was 3 hours 20.
Very, very good.
Which I was so proud of.
Are you elite?
Oh gosh, no. But I mean, it's the fastest I've ever done it. So I was really proud of that time.
That's really good.
But the problem was, and speaking of flights, I had to fly back from Berlin the same night that I ran the marathon. So I flew back, and then the next day my stoma prolapsed. So that is just the effect of running a marathon and the air pressure in the airplane. It meant that my stoma, instead of being about 2 or 3 inches, ended up quite long down my leg, and my intestines started to come out. So that is sort of like a side effect, really, of how tough this challenge is, and it's just sort of like me learning to rest and just make sure that I'm aware of that and maybe not fly back the same night you've done a marathon.
Good idea.
So I've not done that since.
Well, you are pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And have you always been a runner?
No, for a lot of my adult life, I've actually been like quite overweight, quite out of shape, used to struggle a lot with my mental health. And I've just managed to, bit by bit, work on myself and turn my life around. And luckily that had all happened before cancer. So I'd only just started running before I got cancer. But I think that the marathon mindset and the running mindset really helped me deal with it. It helped me realise that I can deal with tough things. I think it helped me realise that this too shall pass. And I think it just reminded me to break things down and take things step by step and be kind to myself.
Well, you are an inspiration to many, many people. And talking of challenges, you've done Dancing on Ice and got to the final, which is a lot further than I got, to be fair. Did you enjoy that?
I loved it. I really loved the whole experience. I'm not a dancer or a skater. I'm not good with glam. So they've taught me, like, I've got fake eyelashes on today. That's something I picked up from Dancing on Ice.
Okay.
I quite enjoyed getting glammed up.
Well, yeah, we talked about Spanx earlier.
Yeah.
I also know what a teddy is.
I don't know a teddy.
A teddy is, with the buttons do out of the shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't want your sequin shirt to ride up when you're doing lifting.
So cool.
So you've got the little poppers underneath. It's the first time I've ever worn a sequin shirt with poppers underneath. And it's not that comfortable for men, I can tell you. No, it's not. It chafes and it itches and you think, oh my God, it takes a bit of getting used to. I always remember the day I was introduced to my skating partner, Alex, the head of wardrobe came in and he said to me, I've come to measure you for your costumes, doctor. And I said, all right. I said, but I'm not wearing pink and I'm not wearing yellow. And he said, oh, why? I said, because, I'm a professional person. I'm not very good at skating. I don't want to draw attention to myself. He said, yes, all right, then you don't want pink and you don't want yellow, but after 6 weeks, they're all gagging for pink. I never wore pink and I never wore yellow. I was never very good either. But you've done Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. How was that?
Yeah, that was... It was tough, actually, because that's when I just started to really succumb to the bowel cancer. So, unfortunately, the timing of that, 2019, the cancer got found in 2021. And that is really when the symptoms really showed themselves. But I thought it was because I was in the jungle, I was away from my family, and there were small portions of food, but the weight dropped off me. So I was quite ill in the jungle. I used to get very tired very quickly, and when the sun would go down, my body had shut down. So I feel like I don't even know what happened in there. I'll be honest with you. I feel like I was delirious the whole time. But it was because I was ill with bowel cancer, but nobody knew.
I'm getting the impression you fly all over the world knackered.
Yeah.
just doing yourself in. But you look very, very well on it.
Oh, thank you.
You're an author as well. Personal best you wrote?
Yeah. So this is the story of me finding out I had bowel cancer, being saved by the doctors and the wonderful NHS, doing chemotherapy, like you say, which was very grueling, but within the 18 months, getting back running again and setting a new Guinness World Record in the London Marathon for the fastest woman with an ileostomy.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it's a lovely, lovely story, but hopefully a lot of stuff in there for people to know that you can come through tough times.
Absolutely. And when are we going to hear you on the radio again?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if anybody will have me now.
Of course they will. Of course they will, especially now. What's your favourite song of all time?
Oh gosh, you can't do this to me. Oh God. I think at the moment it's a song that reminds me of my mum, and this is going to sound really weird, but she was a massive Meatloaf fan. And I was running last night and Bat Out of Hell came on, and it gave me a massive boost. I was running through the streets of London like I was possessed. So Bat Out of Hell, I'll go with that.
Well, there's a song to run to. It's fantastic. Adele, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been really enlightening,
Thank you.
and you're an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you.